look at this right now, Jameson. We've got more mattresses that are coming in the door as we speak, and they are so needed. There are elderly people here that have no bedding, nowhere to sleep, and they came to the shelter, and some of them are just sitting in folding chairs, and they're going to be here for hours, and you can imagine how difficult that would be. Let's talk to this nice couple real quick. Sorry to put you on the spot here, but you saw our report, and
Yes.
you came right away. Unbelievable.
We did. Well, interestingly enough, I asked my husband to take these to the dump this morning because we got new bedding. And I said, let's just keep it for safety, for a tornado or something. And then when I saw your report, I just felt moved. We had to come down. So I found as many blankets, pillows that we could spare and got the 2 mattresses. So
it's going to make a huge difference. I mean, you can see people right here who have been, this gentleman has been sitting in that chair for several hours, and now he's going to have something a lot more comfortable. So thank you guys for coming. You guys stay safe. What's your name?
Elisa and Russ Johnson.
And where do you guys live?
We're up in Hudson at Meadow Oaks.
Okay, well, you guys stay safe too.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. So you see what a difference this community is making in such a difficult time right now. So many people stressed out. So many people, of course, worried about their families and their well-being. But then they are also making a difference for others in the community. Look at it. You're seeing it right here. This man, I was just talking to him. His name's Carl. Hey, Carl. Is this going to be more comfortable for you?
Oh, look at that. They might want me to stay here.
Right. You might. Where do you live, Carl?
Newport Richie, down around Old County Road 54.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
83.
83.
And I mind you asking, I don't date like younger guys,
And so you had been sitting in that chair. I was watching you. You had 2 chairs set up and not exactly the best place to sleep, right?
Well, I usually don't sleep that way. And I don't sleep a lot since I've been retired. I don't sleep a lot.
Yeah. Are you worried about this hurricane, about your home?
No, not really.
Yeah. Why not?
I should have stayed there.
Yeah, you wanted to stay?
Yeah. But she pulled me out.
Yeah.
I would have stayed.
Well, get a good sleep tonight. It's getting late.
I doubt if I will. Wouldn't be the first time I went all night without sleep.
Thanks, Carl. But we can still look around and we can see several people, elderly people. There's a woman right here sitting up in a chair right there. And there are, several people who definitely could use more mattresses, air mattresses. Here's another one that came a few minutes ago. So it doesn't have to be an air mattress. This is just what looks like a child's bed, but that will do a lot of good for somebody. And somebody brought in an entire container of these neck pillows. So, whatever you can bring to make these people more comfortable. It's going to be a long night, a long couple days as we wait for Hurricane Irma. And I'm trying to be a little quiet because it is a little late and these people are trying to get some sleep. But we hope they enjoy a little more comfort as the night goes on. Live in Newport Richie, Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.
Oh, Eric, thank you. That's so nice to see the Good Samaritans and volunteers show up, especially with the mattresses and the air lights. It's just great, yeah. Because I'll tell you, the folding chairs are not easy to sleep. It's like being in an airplane,
And I'm hoping if folks didn't see Eric's first report, obviously from that it sprung people into action, and maybe even somebody sees that woman sitting in that folding chair. That broke my heart.
Yeah. So they're going to sleep a little better tonight. Thanks to the good people in the Bay Area. Thank you for being so giving and seeing our report and showing up.
Yeah. So if anybody has an extra mattress for that lady, please bring it down if you still have the time.
Newport
this
Richie.
Hour. Yeah, Newport Richie, please. Oh, it is the home of the Whopper.
Yeah.
And tonight it was the most popular place in North Tampa for just a few hours.
That's right. ABC Action News reporter Adam Walser visited a local Burger King where hundreds of customers waited in line for a final dinner out before this big storm hits. Right, Adam?
That's right. That's the drive-through line right there, and the parking lot line. All those people waiting for food at the Burger King at the corner of Del Mabry Highway and Waters Avenue. Now, some of those customers we talked to said they looked all over the place for somewhere to get some food tonight, and that Burger King was the only restaurant still open. Now, we've seen lots of long lines for things in the past few days, like water, gas, and even ice. So why not long lines for something else that might be hard for people to get during the hurricane? Hot food. Most of the restaurants, grocery stores, and other businesses along Del Mabry closed down around midday as people began preparing for the storm. But since this Burger King decided to stay open a few extra hours, plenty of people packed into that parking lot.
We got our food. Everyone's happy. Can't be Can't ask for more.
Maloney's was open.
Yeah, Maloney's restaurant was open till 7 too, which was great. So we appreciate everyone's efforts in this time of strife, as you want to call it.
Were those hamburgers worth an hour in line?
Our kids will tell you that. We already ate.
Now, if you didn't get to that Burger King at that time, it's too late. It shut down a few minutes after they were there. And like most other restaurants here in Tampa, they don't know exactly when they'll reopen. Adam Walser, ABC Action News.
All right, Adam, thank you. At least they got one last hot meal. Yeah. That's good. So right now, Largo Fire is picking up special needs medical patients who need to evacuate and bringing them to shelters.
ABC Action News reporter Sarah Hollenbeck riding along with them tonight. Sarah?
You know, we always hear that firefighters are heroes, and this is proof right here. These firefighters are actually on a school bus right now. What they're doing is picking up people that need to go to a medical shelter right now, including Kathy. And Kathy cracked me up because she said, I don't care where I sit on this bus, I'll be on the top as long as you take me to a shelter.
You're right. I don't know how the hurricane's gonna predict what's going on, but I'm just hoping that we come back to a good place. Please.
I know you were really nervous about not getting to a shelter, not having somebody pick you up. And when you saw them, you're like, oh my goodness, you're here.
Yay! Cheer for the boys. Yes, I was very pleased to see them. And the bus is great. I haven't been on a school bus in years. It's wonderful.
You know, and that's one thing that we've noticed, lots of high spirits. Now, Kathy here, she's on insulin, so she depends on that. She needs to go to a place where she can get some medical attention. So it's just so wonderful to hear that people are getting the help that they need, and on all things, a school bus. Now, we have 4 more stops tonight, getting more people, and then these firefighters, they're going to run out again, making sure that every single person that needs to be in a shelter tonight is getting there. They are working very hard to make sure that happens. Reporting live in Largo, I'm Sarah Hollenbeck on a school bus, ABC Action News.
All right, Sarah, thank you. I want to remind you one more time, if the power goes out, and more than likely will, and you can't get anything online for abcactionnews.com or our ABC Action News app, don't forget you can still listen to this broadcast live. All of our ABC Action News updates are happening with our radio partners. You can listen on a radio.
The way to get you through Hurricane Irma. We've got continuing coverage not only on air, but also online and on Roku, Apple TV, our Facebook page, on Twitter, on our website at abcactionnews.com, and also on our free mobile app. And now we want to go to Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips with the latest on the track of Irma. And Dennis, I know the 11 o'clock update gave us some good news, better news. It weakened some. Is it possible that it could weaken even more?
No, it actually, the pressure dropped a little bit, and I kind of figured it was going to. Not huge, but 2 millibars. Pressure down to 931. Now, the winds have not caught up to that yet, but I do think we could see some strengthening. I mean, it's almost inevitable, and I was kind of shocked that the Hurricane Center kept it at a Category 3 all the way through, because it is actually going through some of the warmest water on Earth right now. The warmer the water, the more energy for the system. By the way, somebody needs to get Jameson some caffeine. I tell you, he's just dragging over there. I can hear it. So, but anyway, I mean, you get down to Sunday night at 8 o'clock. This is pretty much near the Sarasota, Siesta Key area, Venice area, down south, as a Category 3 hurricane. Now, again, the one thing you need to focus on, and really the only thing that is in our favor with this, and there's not a lot. I mean, we've been trying to be as much as we can, the glass is half full, kind of a thing over the last couple of hours, but there is your margin of error. The Hurricane Center puts it there for a reason, because it is a mathematical thing. They've actually determined over a period of time what the average margin of error is for any forecast. So 5 days out, the cone is bigger because that's the average margin. So at least you know when you see from here to here, it isn't just a haphazard thing. They actually have the point in which they think it's going to be, and then they take the average margin of error for that time period and extend the fan. So there you go. Category 3 could be east of Tampa, could be in the Gulf. Now, I think most folks believe, as does the Hurricane Center, it's going to be closer to the coast, and I think almost if we had a better opportunity for something to be on the track error, it would be more on the left side. But again, there is that error. and then it becomes a 1 as it starts to accelerate. And the reason it starts to accelerate is because it gets sheared. Now, that's good all around, because 1, faster the storm gets out of here, the faster the storm gets out of here. But 2, when it does pick up its forward speed, that's because it's being sheared, and that weakens it. So we go from a Category 3 hurricane, 120-mile-an-hour winds, and that's sustained, and gusts higher than that. So this concerns me. If this is, and even more so if it's stronger, which it could be. But again, a Category 3 hurricane off somewhere around Venice, you know, that's going to cause some damage. There's no, I mean, it's a major hurricane. By the time it comes up to the Bay Area from Pinellas County, and that track looks like it comes right over Pinellas County. I mean, it actually looks like it's right over my house right there. But in that line, when you see it, I mean, literally, it would be weakening by that because it's already starting to accelerate. The point from 1 to 2 is farther than the previous 24-hour period. So I would be inclined to think maybe by the time it passes the latitude of Tampa and Clearwater and St. Pete, you know, maybe it's down to a 2. Maybe. That's something to look forward to, because you're usually not going to get a ton of structural damages for homes with a Category 2 hurricane, and you're usually not with a 1 either. What you do get are trees down, a lot of power outages, and that's a big problem in our area. So if you've got a well-constructed house, if you have shutters up, if you have plywood up, and the house is maybe less than years old, you've got to feel pretty comfortable even with a Category 3 hurricane. If you're in a mobile home and you're in an evacuation area, or for that matter in an area that isn't under evacuation but may see winds of 110 or 120 miles an hour, it really is a dicey thing at best. Okay, this is the latest satellite. I mean, you can see it. It looks better. There's more red. The eye is better, well-defined. I mean, this is getting stronger. So as the pressure drops, the winds go up. So we will watch this. Certainly, there's a lot of things that can happen. In fact, look at the last, I mean, you could argue that maybe it's starting more of a north-northwest motion, which is probably what it should be doing anyway in terms of the forecast, because if you were to kind of extend this up, that would kind of take it pretty much where the Hurricane Center has been saying it's going to go for the last 24 hours. But it looks to me like you definitely can see more of a north-northwest motion right there. See that? Now, there's a wobble, so maybe it's north-northwest. I don't think it's due north. If it would be due north, it would go back to the spine of the state if it would stay that way. So now we're to the point where the models are almost meaningless. It's just tracking it because it's that close. It's 24 hours out. I mean, there's already hurricane-force winds right now, or just about, in the Keys. In fact, did we have video a couple of minutes ago, right? It was showing from Miami and down in the Keys, and they're getting gusts of hurricane force. Now, this is 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So Sarasota County, Hardee County, Charlotte, Lee, this is where the Hurricane Center actually says it could even make landfall, or just maybe touch the coastal area where we were showing you around Sarasota, or maybe just offshore. It's that close of a call. But it's not a close call when it comes to getting hurricane winds, because that orange area, all of it, is hurricane-force winds. So as it goes up the coast, those winds will extend first in our southern counties by 10 o'clock, right on through the Tampa Bay metro area, from Pinellas to Hillsborough to Polk to Hardee, DeSoto, Manatee, that entire area. And then from 10 o'clock until 2 a.m., it also continues. And I think this is when areas in Pasco and Citrus and probably Pinellas also will be getting some of the strongest winds. So it's bad enough to have to deal with a Category 2 or a Category 3 hurricane. It's even worse to have to deal with it in the middle of the night with the power out. But that is what's going to happen. I can guarantee you it's almost going to be widespread power outages at that point. Now, here's a live shot from Miami. We're looking at a shot here where I think obviously surge is something that they're concerned about, because remember, earlier on in the week, the storm's doing what it wants to. It's just the models and us didn't do a very good job tracking it. But West Palm, for a period of time about 3 days ago, this was supposed to be ground zero from Miami to West Palm. The two pictures we just showed you were what the models were saying were going to be the bulk of what was going on. And if you're looking at that, I mean, come on, that's nothing. Because we had a West Coast storm, and the models turned it off to the east. And then as you go up north, Orlando, it's windier in Orlando right now than it is down south. So the next phase of this process, And I think that's really kind of what we have to play this by. Okay, we've got through this, we get through this, we get through this, until it's finally over. We get to sunrise on Monday. And then by then, the worst of the hurricane force winds will be tapering off. And we'll still have tropical storm. We're going to have tropical storm force winds most of Monday. Tropical storm force winds won't cause damage. However, we will already probably have damage in some spots. So this could just make it a little bit worse. By lunchtime, things finally begin to wind down across the southern counties and then out of there by Wednesday. So bottom line, we're going to continue to track this. The Euro will be out in about 45 minutes to an hour. Don't think we'll see much of a change. I am concerned with the hourly updates that pressure is dropping, meaning Irma could be getting a little bit stronger. Guys?
All right. Thank you, Dennis.
All right, thank you, Dennis. Well, people are seeking shelter anywhere that they can tonight.
That's right. As ABC Action News reporter Ashley Yore shows us, the Islamic Center of Tampa Bay is at full capacity now, with people still looking for a safe place to ride out the storm. Take a look.
I'm at the Islamic Center right now, where they've unexpectedly filled up this evening with evacuees. Here you can see there's a sign saying that they are full right now, sending people to other shelters in the area. I'm with a volunteer right now. How surprised were you to see how quickly this filled up?
We were really surprised, to be honest. We didn't expect that many people to come this fast. So.
And you said there's about 1,000 people in there. They're sleeping right now. All different types of people.
Yeah, everybody, doesn't matter who it is. We brought them in. We had them register and everything. We showed them the place and around. So we're good right now. Everybody.
And what's the mood like inside? I know this is a really stressful time for a lot of people. Did you get a sense of how people are feeling this evening?
I mean, to be honest, some people are nervous, but we're trying to keep them calm and everything. We had some people talk to them, let them know everything's going to be okay, and we'll be okay.
All right. Again, about 1,000 people right now sleeping inside of the Islamic Center. It's now closed. They're sending people to other shelters. And, of course, we'll have that on our website, abcactionnews.com. In Tampa, I'm Ashley Yore, ABC Action News.
Ashley, thank you. Well, we've got every shelter listed right here on our website at abcactionnews.com, so you can find one near you. And we do recommend that you print these locations out now in case you lose power, so you know where to go. They're also on our free mobile app as well. So as the Hurricane Irma inches closer, South Florida now really starting to see some of the wind and rain and storm surges. Look at that video.
Yeah, Omar Jimenez has the latest tonight from Miami.
Hurricane-force wind gusts in Key West are just the beginning of Irma's landfall with the state of Florida. Here in downtown Miami, on what should be a busy Saturday night, it is completely empty. And we've seen wind gusts here even throughout the day and into the evening. In fact, one thing we've been keeping an eye on are some of the many cranes here in downtown of the city. And the wind gusts have been so strong throughout the day that they've actually turned cranes. The ones that you guys are seeing right now were basically earlier today. You could see the sides of those cranes, and you can see at this point they've basically turned clockwise away from us at this point, and that was just over the course of a few hours. Other things we've been monitoring is as these gusts have come through, we've seen branches, tree branches come down onto the streets as well on, again, what has become a ghost town. You can see behind me just an example of some of the leaves that have blown off of these palm trees. These conditions are expected to deteriorate and get to its worst peak, so to speak, over the course of Sunday. That's when Miami, at the very least, should feel the brunt of Irma. The latest projections from the National Hurricane Center don't necessarily have it getting up to a Category 4 hurricane, but only 5 miles per hour short of that threshold. So a hurricane nonetheless, and something Florida officials are still intending to take very seriously. Reporting in downtown Miami, I'm Omar Jimenez.
All right, Omar, thank you. Meanwhile, the Sunshine Skyway Bridge now closed, and that's not the only one. In anticipation of the high winds from Hurricane Irma, drawbridges in Sarasota County have now been closed to all marine traffic.
Let's head down now to Sarasota with our Jake Peterson, where I know, Jake, it's a ghost town when you're standing in the middle of the road there on the double yellow line.
Nobody there.
The middle of the road. This is Main Street, downtown Sarasota. Nobody here. And right before you came to me, you should have seen the gusts, all these trees. I have no idea how fast it was going, but it blew me around. I'm sure that's the first time, many times it's going to happen throughout this weekend. But yeah, I'll tell you, just over here, Siesta Key, they are in a mandatory evacuation right now. Deputies are at the foot of the bridge there. They're not really letting anyone in. You have to have a really darn good reason to get onto Siesta Key right now. Same with all the other Longboat Key next to it. Take a look, though. I mean, this is a popular Mexican restaurant, all boarded up. Everyone boarded up here, downtown Sarasota. In Sarasota County, Zones A evacuated, Zones B voluntary evacuation. Right now, for safe places, we know 8,000 people are in 10 shelters here in Sarasota County. We're going to go up north to Manatee County. They have a lot more shelters, actually, around 22, 24 shelters there. And those are nearing capacity. We believe 5 of those so far are at full capacity. The others are at about half capacity. So good news. Sounds like people did, heed that warning and went and took some safe shelter. The other thing we can tell you that folks from Charlotte County are also were earlier today filling up the Sarasota shelters. But yeah, right now, I mean, like I said, this is a ghost town, and right about now, all the bars and restaurants would be closing here in Sarasota. Instead, you're starting to see that wind pick up, and there is nobody here. The only people you're going to see here right now are police officers. They are patrolling this area, just making sure no looters or anything like that come and try to get in some of these businesses. We saw the same in Siesta Key. Also, Longboat Key, Holmes Beach, Bradenton Beach, Anna Maria Island. The bridges to those areas completely closed. Manatee County closed those bridges around 6 o'clock today, so hopefully everyone got off those islands safely. Oh, we actually do have a car coming out here. Hopefully they're going to someplace safe right now as well. But for right now, that is the latest here in Sarasota County. I'm Jake Peterson, ABC Action News.
All right, Jake, thank you. Meanwhile, we want to go to Orlando. This is Orlando bracing for strong winds. You probably recognize the sign. Pulse nightclub, they went to protect that sign there. They put up a tarp, as you see, and then even painted a P on the tarp. As you remember, back in June of 2016, 49 people were killed, dozens more injured in a terrorist attack inside that nightclub.
With hurricane-force winds coming our way, that means there is a high likelihood of power outages in our area.
That's right. Many of you will be using generators as backup, but please be careful when doing that. They can be so dangerous. There are 3 major hazards that you need to avoid if you use a generator in your home. The first is the most obvious and deadly: carbon monoxide poisoning. Never, ever use your generator indoors. That's how it happens. And you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you don't know it until it's too late. Make sure it's also far away from windows, vents, or doors to your home.
There are usually fatalities from carbon monoxide poisoning due to generators after hurricanes, after we lose power. It's almost a certainty, and we're hoping that this is the time that it's not a certainty. We're hoping we can get through this.
And don't put it in your garage and then close your garage, because it's the same thing as having it in your house.
I know this sounds like common sense, but folks do this every hurricane, and unfortunately we've got some bad news to report when that happens. Let's talk about a second threat. It's electrocution. If you use extension cords, be sure they're grounded, make sure they're away from water, make sure you keep your generator protected from the rain if there is any.
And the third threat, fire. Generators run on gas, so make sure that you allow your generator engine to cool off at least for 2 minutes before refueling, and always use fresh gasoline. Never operate the generator near combustible materials. Just some good information for you to be safe out there, because we worry. Certainly, we heard so many outages already. 200,000 people already losing power here in South Florida, South Beach, that area, the Keys, of course. But as the storm moves north, more people are going to be losing power. So please be careful.
Yeah, Comcast, by the way, has announced it will open up more than 100,000 Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots in the state, so everyone can access them for free. This will allow people to call family and friends to let them know they're okay, or to call for help if they need it when the storm eventually hits here. You can see the locations of the hotspots in our area online. We've posted a link to this searchable map on our website at abcactionnews.com.
And another mobile carrier reaching out to keep you connected during the storm, Verizon. Verizon says the customers will have free talk, text, and data. And if you're a prepaid customer, you will get an extra 3 gigabytes of data. Earlier this week, AT&T also announcing it would be giving customers unlimited data calls and texts. So thank you to both of those companies for stepping up and doing the right thing. Lots of people nervous right now ahead of this storm, and rightfully so, right? This is a very, very strong storm with lots of wind and lots of rain.
Yeah, but we do take some effort, and hopefully you will too, in the fact, and comfort, I should say, in the fact that Help is on the way to help us during the recovery stages after the storm passes. Reporter Kay McRae is in Dulles International Airport with more on those who want to help.
Well, let me start off by showing you the people here. This large group of people in tan and purple and blue, and you'll notice all the bags here. This group of people is about to head south to Orlando to take part in the Hurricane Irma relief effort. You're looking at first responders from around the country. Doctors and nurses from as far away as California are here right now at Dulles International Airport, and they make up the Disaster Medical Assistant Team put together by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Their job is to help those in need, but they won't know their mission until they get to Florida.
We work for the federal government. We're there to assist the state. And so if the state has a need or a request or a task, and we call them taskers, then that will come up through and we will be assigned to do that.
We're prepared to stay usually about 14 days. Because of the back-to-back emergencies we've seen, we may be needed for longer.
You're looking at the Michigan Disaster Medical Assistance Team here at Dulles International Airport right now. At the moment, there will probably be about 100 members of the team here at the airport, but hundreds more are expected to show up to get on Air Force C-17 planes and head down to the Sunshine State to do what they can to help Hurricane Irma victims. So that's the latest here from Dulles International Airport. I'm Q McRae, ABC 7 News.
And Southwest Florida starting to feel the outer bands of Hurricane Irma right now, and people are getting out of Dodge.
Yeah, that's right. Whether they're taking shelter somewhere or maybe hitting the road, so many places that they could still escape to. But many streets are a ghost town. We talked about people evacuating, and a lot of times even the governor was saying you don't necessarily have to go hours away, even just minutes away, so that you get inland or someplace safe, not in a flood zone A. It's important to get to. So we have, I'm sorry, you had something else?
I was going to say, yeah, 5 shelters remaining open in Sarasota County. Just some new information that I got here. 2 of those are pet friendly. I'm trying to get some information here. They're in Sarasota County. 5 shelters remain open down there. I'm trying to get some information to you exactly which one of those 5 are. As soon as we do, we will pass that along to you as well.
Okay, we now want to go to Josh Einiger. He is there with the very latest.
Good evening from a deserted Naples, Florida, where we were surprised to find not every storefront has been boarded up, as has happened elsewhere in the state. This one is, but if you look to the left, that one has not. And that's just one sign that the people here in this part of Southwest Florida really did not have a lot of time to prepare for this storm. It was only this morning that it became apparent just the kind of devastation that they face, with a massive storm surge and massive wind field, and the eye of the storm expected to make landfall in this area here in Naples, or perhaps in Sarasota or Fort Myers here along the Gulf Coast. Driving around Naples, we found a deserted city. In fact, it was almost like a scene from the Twilight Zone. Houses abandoned, not boarded up, no storm shutters, no sandbags. People simply seem to have abandoned their homes and just tried to escape to safer locations to protect their own lives. We found very, very few people here on the street. By the morning, things will look a lot different. Already right now, the wind is starting to pick up. We can see trees starting to blow around a little bit. We've had a few squalls coming through, but by the morning, it should be a more sustained wind. And by the afternoon, they're talking about winds in the triple digits, wind speeds in the triple digits. We will be here and bring you up to date. For now, in Naples, Florida, Josh Einiger, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Josh Einiger reporting there. He's from WABC there in New York City, sending some of their correspondents down here to cover this. Tells you how big this storm is. And you ask and you shall receive. I was talking about some of those Sarasota County shelters, 5 of them that still remain open. 2 are pet friendly. First, I'm going to tell you about the ones that are still pet friendly that are open here. I'm getting this. Heron Creek Middle School, that is pet friendly, and Woodland Middle School. That is also pet friendly. These are in Sarasota County. 3 other shelters also open tonight as well down there that still have room. Philippi Shores Elementary, Gulf Gate Elementary, and Atwater Elementary there in Sarasota County. So if you want to pack it up and head there, they've got room for you. And if you have pets too.
Yeah, that's good news. You can bring your animals, which is always good news. All right, we want to head over to meteorologist Shay Ryan for the latest on Hurricane Irma. So how's it looking?
Yeah. Well, right now, things are still relatively calm, especially in comparison to what we're going to be experiencing tomorrow night at this time. So one of the things, though, to keep in mind is that as this storm is working its way up the coast, the side of the storm, the east side of the storm that is going to be rolling along right along here, well, that is where we have that opportunity for spin as the storm is moving inland. So we have a tornado watch that's in effect right now for our southern counties as a result of that possibility for spin. So Arcadia and Sebring, you're in the mix there. So all of Highlands and DeSoto counties, that will stay in effect until at least noon tomorrow, but it will likely be extended to all of our viewing area at some point, either overnight tonight or tomorrow morning. We're already seeing a few showers moving across the West Chase area into the East Lake area of Palm Harbor. These are just those outer bands now, and the heavier rain, though, is moving into our southern counties. It's not necessarily going to be terribly heavy and continuous. We'll get some breaks here overnight, but we'll see it eventually settling in over the next several hours. It's already 1:30, and we're looking in general at the southern counties being completely covered by rain by about 4 o'clock. So not too far off there. But Sebring, you've got some heavy downpours. In fact, I just checked here the rate at which it's coming down, almost 1 3/4 inch per hour, and over an inch per hour there as we're getting closer to 441. So we're definitely seeing some of those heavier downpours embedded in those bands that are just on the leading edge. So the storm itself is still well to the south. In fact, just coming off of those barrier islands from the north coast of Cuba. As we zoom closer in, you can see that it is looking like it's moving just slightly to the northwest now, maybe north-northwest, and still about 65 to 70 miles from Key West at this point. And as we look at the size of this storm, you can see how easily we are going to be inundated across the majority of the state as this continues to make its way north in the hours ahead. So we are all going to be experiencing rainfall out of this and also some gusty winds across the state. But again, the majority of the impact right now is focused on the southwest part of the state and then across central Florida, right across Tampa Bay. As far as those impacts go, you can see the very heavy rain bands on the futurecast, and this projection is showing how close that center gets. Whether or not it's an official landfall or not is still left to be seen. But by tomorrow, late afternoon and into the evening, it's starting to work its way into Sarasota County. But the rain well ahead of that, quite heavy. And then the winds, this is where we get that hurricane force wind that's going to be moving across Tampa Bay. And keep in mind, even on the backside, we'll still continue to have those very strong winds. It'll start to taper off, though, early Monday. And it'll be gradual throughout the day. We'll still get some gust and we'll still get some hit or miss rainfall from time to time. And, you know, I'm showing you this graphic just to let you know there's a little more time here overnight where things are still going to be calm, but we're going to start to see that heavier rain, more widespread rain working its way in over the next several hours. And by the time we're getting to early tomorrow morning, we're going to see some pretty good coverage. And by mid to late morning, this is where the winds really start to pick up across Tampa Bay and settle in. And once they settle in, we may get some, you know, fluctuations in the intensity, but it's just going to ramp up from there. We're going to start to see those wind gusts approaching hurricane strength. Right now, okay, there we go. I was concerned for a moment that we've lost our data, but we have not. 22-mile-per-hour wind gusts right now in Tampa. We've got 37 in Mayaca City. We're starting to gradually see some higher gusts coming in here. Auburndale right now at 37, but this is all still reasonable. This is the kind of stuff that you know, could drive to your neighbor's house in. And even early tomorrow morning, I think you could head out and get something done pretty quickly, but it would need to be pretty early in the morning. Again, keep in mind that rain is going to be moving in pretty early. In fact, 4 o'clock, like I said, pretty much inundating all of our southern counties by that point from Sarasota and Manatee on into Highlands. By Tampa, in Tampa Bay, 9, 10 o'clock, we'll see that heavier rain in our northern counties at least by noon at the latest. As far as those winds, though, the tropical storm winds, they'll follow the rain. In our southern counties, we'll see it settling in around 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll be up around Tampa Bay by 10 and then to the north around noon. So as we look at that path, the great news that we had, or the best news, I would say, that we got out of that last 11 p.m. update was that the storm may be a little weaker as it's starting to approach Tampa Bay as a Cat 3 instead of a Cat 4 storm. So again, we'll continue to monitor that. It's not a guarantee yet. This is incredibly warm fuel, basically, that this center of the storm is rolling over right now and will continue to, with the only disruption being the Florida Keys. Again, those islands and, frankly, those barrier islands on the north side of Cuba did a decent job of
as a Cat
just
3
tampering down the storm
so
a bit.
Again,
as it was trying to monitor that to the west.
Guarantee
so we'll see
yet.
how it
interacts
incredibly
with the keys
warm
as well.
fuel as it moves across. Though you can see that those tropical storm force winds have already settled into Dade County and even as far north as Fort Myers here tonight. And then we'll start to see those hurricane force winds working their way in around 6 o'clock tomorrow evening into our southern counties, rolling across Tampa Bay around 10 o'clock. So just as you're getting ready for bed, things are going to start ramping up. And then it continues on through about 2 o'clock in the morning across Tampa Bay. So that's a good solid 4 to 6 hours of hurricane force winds if this all holds together. And then it continues to move out of the area by 6 o'clock in the morning to the north. But we're still left with those tropical storm force winds throughout much of the morning and early afternoon across Tampa Bay. So again, it will take some time into Tuesday before, or into Monday, that is, before things really start to settle down. As we look at the probability of tropical storm force winds, we know that the majority of the state is going to experience that along the path. It's the hurricane force winds that we really like what we've seen with this last model update, which is it started to pull it back and push it south. So we're just bringing down the coverage of those areas with the probability of hurricane force winds. We're talking 74-mile-per-hour sustained winds. So this is good news that we're starting to pull back on that. It's not a guarantee that we will keep this or that it'll leave it get better. In fact, as we see what happens with the organization of the storm as it's over those warm waters over the next couple of hours, there is a possibility, a strong chance that this could strengthen some. So there's a chance we're going to see some fluctuations in the intensity. But at least for now, as far as the timing of those wind gusts come, you can see Bradenton and Sarasota with 48-mile-per-hour wind gusts early tomorrow. And then that starts to intensify right around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then we see it really starting to lift across Tampa Bay and onto the north. But those southern counties, triple-digit wind gusts there in Bradenton and Sarasota, into Zolfo Springs, Sebring, looking at about 91-mile-per-hour wind gusts. You can also tell that those stronger winds have shifted a little. If you remember yesterday, we were talking about some of the strongest wind gusts through Lake Wales and into Sebring, but now those numbers have come down a little bit, only to go up closer to the coastline. At about 2 a.m., that's when we're anticipating some of those peak wind gusts around Tampa Bay into St. Pete, Newport Richey, close to 90 mile per hour. The same deal there in Lakeland and Lake Wales. After that, things calm down just a little bit more as we're getting into Monday morning, and much more as we get through the afternoon and into the evening. So those wave heights, we've talked about the potential for storm surge, and you can see it's still looking more intense on the East Coast than on ours, but we are looking at some significant storm surge. Most of this will impact flooding across our area on Monday morning. 3 to 6 feet. Storm surge is possible in Pasco County on north, 4 to 8 around Tampa Bay, and 6 to 10 south of Tampa Bay. So we will see